And do you miss like the entertainment and the TV of it all?
Yes and no. You know, I think like everything, there's pros and there's cons. Being on the reality TV was stressful. There's a lot of drama and it could be toxic at times. But I also made like real friends on the show. It's also kind of fun to like get glammed and get dressed and, you know, like buy clothes to film. Like it was like, I don't know, part of it was fun too. It was exhausting. It pays well. I don't know, you know, like for every negative, there was a positive. I just don't think it's for me right now. That's not to say that I never will go back, but right now I just feel like I'm enjoying my time with my kids.
And how was it for your relationship?
It was stressful. I'm sure Anthony will be like, she's never going back.
I know that like the divorce rate, I mean, the divorce rate in general is like not great, but the divorce rate on reality TV is extremely high.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I always tell when people are like, oh, what was it like? Would you recommend it? I always tell people that like if there's like a weakness in your life, they will find it. And by they, I mean, you know, producers, castmates, and then you'll have to deal with that weakness. For me, it was my relationship with my dad, like my family drama that really we dealt with on the show. But I think if your marriage or your relationship is in a hard place, being on reality television isn't going to make it any easier. Like they'll pick up on like that kind of like instability and people will ask about it and you'll have to talk about it and then they'll go digging about it. And I just don't think that it makes tenuous situations any better.
I feel like that happens in marriage too in general. Like I think that there's a misconception that marriage is going to make everything easier, like it's going to fix everything. And I think that sometimes people get married because they think that it will fix whatever cracks they have in their foundation. But I think that marriage really holds a magnifying glass over those cracks. And I'm sure it sounds like that's kind of how that was as well, where it's just going to bring everything to the surface and then you have to confront it.
And you're also under an added stress, right? So you're a little bit more irritable, you're more tired. And those are traits that don't necessarily bring out the best in someone. So then if you're already arguing with your partner and now you're tired and you're stressed, you're just going to argue more. I was lucky I have a very supportive partner, but he'll tell you that it would put an enormous amount of stress on me. Like I'm an empath. I feel like I absorb people's energy, and being in that room with like 6 women, 7 women fighting and like arguing, I would get home and I was just like, oh, like depleted.
I cannot imagine.
I also had fun too. I don't want to make it seem like it was all bad, but
I'm sure it was both. But I identify with, you know, being an empath and being kind of like a sensitive person, and like I'm an extroverted introvert, and I talk about this all the time. But I really get my energy from like being alone, and so I feel like that would be just so stimulating to where it would just be so draining.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then having 2 kids, like especially a newborn, like I just felt like I could not bring that energy and that exhaustion home to an already like exhausted state.
Yeah.
Like there was just no way I would have been able to film this year.
Yeah. Is there anything that you're struggling with now?
Well, obviously, I've been really open about the postpartum anxiety. I think moms have a lot of pressure on them, right? Because it's like there's this expectation of motherhood, right? That it's going to be this like beautiful, magical experience. And it is being, you know, it's a huge blessing. But that doesn't mean that there aren't hard moments, and then that you aren't going to have moments where you kind of miss your former life, right? Like even though you love being a mom, you love your kids, it's hard to find Nicole as an individual person after 2 kids. Like they just take up so much time. And it's like, if I'm not Nicole the mom to one, I'm Nicole the mom to the other. And then I'm like Nicole like the wife or the partner. And I'm just like, where's just like Nicole by herself? It's hard. So I think just like finding time by myself right now is like the hardest thing.
How old are your kids now?
I have a 6-year-old, or a soon-to-be 6-year-old. He turned 6 in February, and Genevieve is 8 months. She just turned 8 months. So like they're still very little and like very time-consuming. Yeah. And then I still work at the hospital, plus the skincare line, plus social media. Like, you know, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
I love the honesty. Like I really appreciate the honesty because I feel like not enough people talk about that. And I think everybody is struggling with that, however their life looks. Like this is something that I've been really struggling with too, and that I'm working on in therapy, which is like, what is my identity? Because I have my identity in my job and almost different identities with the podcast and social media and other ventures that I have in my business. And then I have my identity as like a friend and like a girlfriend and a daughter and like so many, we all wear so many different hats and it's like, who am I?
But when you peel off all those hats,
Yeah.
you're kind of left with this thing that you don't even know like what it is anymore.
Yeah.
And
it's hard.
It is hard. And I'm trying to get more comfortable. I talk about this with my therapist too, with like setting really firm boundaries, because I feel like I have been a yes girl my entire life. I think it was a product of my upbringing. I grew up in a really traditional Latin household where women just did as they were told. And I kind of was like, always like, yes, 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 I'll do this. Yes, I'll go to your event. Yes, I'll do this. And I would run myself to the ground trying to please people. And now I'm trying to get very comfortable and I'm getting much better to the point where Anthony might be like, God, you're a little bit of a lately. But I'm kind of unapologetic now about setting boundaries because I've realized that like I can't pour from an empty cup. I am like no good to anybody if I am like run down to the ground. And so I'm being really good about like prioritizing my time and doing what really matters most to me and like saying no and being okay with it. Like I'm not even giving you an explanation. I'm just going to be like, yeah, no, sorry.
There is so much power in saying no. This year has been my year of saying no. And next
like,
year, even more
like
so.
At 39, right?
Yeah.
Like you're just like, yep, no time for this nonsense.
Yeah. And I think it all kind of ties into what we've been talking about, which is like, I don't know, I guess getting a little more comfortable with yourself. Like on the one hand, it feels like we are kind of figuring out who we are at this stage, but we also know like what works and what doesn't work. I arrive at that place through discomfort. So I got in so much discomfort, especially in my career, from being that yes person and in my personal life as well. And when I get so uncomfortable, that's like where I get the motivation to change. It's like I have to hit a rock bottom with something to change. And I was saying yes to everything. And it felt like the work that I was doing was like killing my soul. And things that I committed to outside of work were killing my soul. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, for what, So I think some of it is probably like age related, but it's still hard. And it's like, and Valeria was even talking about this. She was talking about like not even really knowing who she is. Like she makes content all the time. She's amazing with content creation. She's like, I don't know if this is like my idea or like, did I see it somewhere? And like, is this even me? Or am I just copying other, like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's always refreshing to like have these conversations with people that you feel like are killing it, right? Because it's like, I don't know, I watch you and Valeria and I'm just like, wow, look at them. They're like, you guys you've built these brands and I seem like you have it all together, but then you have conversations and you're like, no, they're just as confused as I am.
Yeah.
Which is refreshing at the same time. I think there's solidarity in knowing that you're not alone.
And that's how I feel following her and following you. And that's the other kind of unique thing is that we are exposed to what our peers are doing on a daily basis. And so that's just a recipe to make you feel like everyone else has it figured out and you don't, and you're not doing enough. And it can be really hard. And so I also love conversations like this because like you peel back that veil and it's like we are all dealing with and we're all struggling and like nobody has it all figured out. And I feel like on some level we know that, but then when we're constantly seeing the highlight reel, it's easy to like forget.
I mean, that's I think why, people's anxiety levels are through the roof, right? Because people spend hours on social media and all they're seeing is like the highlights, the positive things. And then they compare it to their life, which obviously they're dealing with the good and the bad. And they're not seeing everyone's bad. So everyone just thinks that their life is substantially worse than everybody else's because no one's showing the bad.
Yeah.
Which is why I kind of felt like I had like an obligation to talk about postpartum anxiety because 1 in 5 or like between 20 to 25% of women are suspected to have some degree of postpartum anxiety or postpartum depression, but no one talks about it. And I think it's because there's like this taboo. No one wants to be the only one. They don't want to feel bad
and it's like, I should be grateful. I just had this
baby. This pressure to feel like this is this magical moment, but it's okay if it's not. It's okay. It doesn't mean you don't love your baby. It doesn't mean you don't love being a mom, but there are going to be hard times and it's okay to talk about them because then people don't talk about it. They don't get the help they need.
Was there a point that you did decide to get help or was it just from the beginning that you were like, something is wrong and your doctors were like, oh, this is what it is? Or was it a little bit of a struggle to like arrive at that diagnosis and at that conclusion for yourself?
So I don't think I realized it right away because my daughter came 6 weeks early. So she was born premature. She spent 10 days in the NICU. So it was like an emergency C-section. I was like on sympathetic overload, you know? I was fight or flight. I didn't even have time to process what was going on. And I must have been like, I left the hospital, Genevieve stayed in the NICU. It must have been like day 5 after my C-section. And I woke up at like 2 a.m. I was dripping sweat. My heart was pounding. And I remember waking up Anthony and I was like, something's wrong. I was like, something is wrong. I'm like, I don't feel good. I was like crying. I was shaking. I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I think I have like maybe an infection from my C-section. Like I was just kind of like trying to figure out what was going on. I was like, do I have mastitis? Do I have a UTI? Like because I was sweating. And I remember he was like, okay, let's go in the shower. He puts me in the shower. I'm sitting on the shower floor. He's literally sitting like right next to me and I'm crying. And looking back on it now, I didn't realize it then. I was having a full-blown panic attack. I just didn't realize it then. And like, sure enough, we were in the shower for like 30 minutes. And eventually I think I was just so depleted, I fell back asleep. But it was at that moment that I was like, something is wrong, you know? And I've done enough therapy in my lifetime to be like, I'm overwhelmed. Like I just felt so helpless because Genevieve was in the hospital and I didn't know what was going to happen with her. They were talking about intubating her. And I was kind of just like all over the place, you know? So I just kept talking to my therapist and things eventually got better. We got a wonderful night nurse, which helped a ton because I felt like I was actually able to sleep. And I felt like I had like a support system between Anthony and my family and her, and everything kind of started coming together. But yeah, there was definitely a moment where I was like, something is wrong.